All right, the first open 49ers OTA practice of 2024 is in the books. Here's your instant reaction and 49ers update. As expected, no Brandon Ayuk. This might have been a little bit more surprising to people, though. No Jauan Jennings either. Jauan Jennings, remember, multiple people had falsely reported that he had signed his second-round restricted free agent tender a couple months ago. I got on social media really quickly after that. I said, no, he hadn't signed it. The 49ers have offered Jauan Jennings his $4.9 million tender for this year, but he still has to sign it. I think it stands to reason that Jauan Jennings is interested in a longer-term deal with the 49ers. He can't be out here practicing until he actually signs the tender or he signs an agreement for a longer term deal with San Francisco. The only rookie who has yet to sign his contract is Ricky Pearsall, but the NFL rules are a little bit different there. Pearsall signed a waiver to be able to take the practice field. So he was out there, and Ricky Pearsall actually looked really good today. Made several catches. Obviously, we saw Brock Purdy throwing to him. We saw Josh Dobbs, the 49ers' new backup quarterback, throwing to him. Josh Dobbs wearing number 5. He's got Trey Lance's old number out there on the field, but Pearsall was gaining good separation on the practice field today. Now, it is key to note that this was primarily 7-on-7 work today. The 49ers taking it easy at the start of OTAs. They don't want to go into full-scale 11-on-11 stuff excessively. We did see some of that toward the end of practice, but this was mainly passing league 7-on-7 action for San Francisco. That being said, Brock Purdy, sensational touchdown pass to a familiar name, Trent Taylor. Yes, Taylor is back with the 49ers after some time with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Chicago Bears. But Purdy rolled far to his left, spun back around with the imaginary pressure coming in his face because it was 7-on-7, and launched one deep across the field over new cornerback Isaac Yiadom's head into the hands of Trent Taylor for a touchdown. Impressive stuff from Brock Purdy, who actually, if you put up his Iowa State tape, he has a play like that where he threw it further in a game. This was a deep pass, but it wasn't quite as deep as the touchdown that he threw off schedule for Iowa State back in college. So I said on Twitter, maybe Mahomes-esque, but we could just say Purdian. We can have the adjective relate to Purdy because he's one of the best off-schedule QBs in the entire National Football League. I don't know if there is really a reason to compare him to anybody else because he's carving his own path, and he's doing it by delivering on schedule and also delivering off schedule. Now, as far as players who were there, players who weren't there, no Christian McCaffrey, and he was the Energizer Bunny at last year's OTAs. McCaffrey is scheduled to be married soon, though, so it is possible that Christian McCaffrey is simply getting ready for his wedding. Long story short is that it's probably not too productive to read into some of these veteran absences at OTAs without knowing more information. Trent Williams, for example, he's not here, but he's never here for OTAs. Now, one person who hasn't been here in the past for OTAs, but is here now, is Nick Bosa. And he said that Kyle Shanahan gave him a list of reasons as to why he thinks he should be out here at OTAs, and the primary reason was, well, I want you to get to know your new teammates. The 49ers have 6 new defensive linemen this year. They went crazy in free agency on the defensive line, and Bosa agreed with him. So Bosa's out here, so is Joey Bosa, who's out in California with the Los Angeles Chargers because they have a new coach. They have the new Jim Harbaugh regime. So it's important enough this year. The OTAs are important enough for both Bosa brothers to not be working out in Fort Lauderdale at their private gym, but to be out at OTAs. And Bosa looks like he's in really good shape, says that he's in really good shape. He actually, today was funny. I mean, he had a couple lines from Nick Bosa, one of which was, I think Brock Purdy reminds me of Scotty Scheffler, the golfer, except for, and then he just started laughing. Obviously, Scotty Scheffler got arrested this past week. As far as other 49ers veterans, George Kittle, recovering from the core muscle surgery earlier this offseason. He was on hand at practice, but he was just tossing the football around with Brian Fleury, the 49ers tight ends coach. He wasn't actually participating. We heard from Charvarius Ward on Kay Adams' show yesterday. He had the same surgery at the same location, the Vincera Institute in Philadelphia, as George Kittle, so no Charvarius Ward. Talanoa Hufanga, rehabbing from the torn ACL. He was working off on the side field, looked to be moving decently well. So Hufanga should be on track to return for training camp. No Jake Brendel. He apparently has knee arthritis. The 49ers do not expect to see their starting center participate in practice here over the course of OTAs. Kyle Shanahan mentioned that Drake Jackson, the defensive lineman entering his third year, had the knee surgery earlier this offseason, unspecified type of knee surgery. He's not going to be healthy enough to participate in OTAs. Also, no Cam Latu today at practice, although we did see him working off on the side, maybe in the weight room there. No rookie receiver Jacob Cowing. He was at rookie minicamp, but Cowing not on the practice field today. Fred Warner didn't practice, but he was out on the field. Looked like Fred was healthy for the 49ers, just taking this OTA session off. I mentioned the great throw from Purdy downfield to Trent Taylor. Otherwise, Purdy looked sharp. I mentioned the Ricky Pearsall looked good. The most we can really glean from these kind of practices is the passing stuff, because it was mainly 7-on-7 action for the 49ers, so more passing league action. So we could talk about Pearsall looking good. We could talk about Trent Taylor looking good. Deebo Samuel slimmed down, looking good. Kyle Shanahan joked that it's risky to switch to number one, as Deebo Samuel did, because you better have really slimmed down if you went to number one. And Samuel's been doing some boxing, showed out that shirtless video the other day. He does, in fact, look the part of number one. Kyle Shanahan was very complimentary. He looked good on that field alongside Taylor, Pearsall, and Tay Martin, a 49ers receiver who caught a lot of passes today. So I got a little bit more for you. Oh, the good-looking 49ers cornerbacks. I think it's really important to emphasize, when I'm talking about this being more of a passing league thing, 7-on-7, maybe no Charvarius Ward, but Isaac Yiadom made a really good play today. Break up on the far side of the field, and then Rock Ya-Sin, veteran cornerback who the 49ers picked up this offseason. He broke up a pass, a deep out intended for Ricky Pearsall. I believe Brandon Allen was the quarterback who threw it, and that got the defense really, really fired up on the sideline. That might have been the most emotion that we saw today at practice, and it was the defense fired up when Rock Ya-Sin, the veteran cornerback, broke up the deep out intended for Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall had an otherwise good day. But Brandon Staley, new coach for the defense, assistant coach for the defense, assistant head coach for the 49ers, assigned to the defense. He was pumped up on the sideline. Nick Sorensen, the defensive coordinator, ran all the way from his spot behind the play to celebrate with the defense on the sideline. And it was good to see some spirited competition in that regard for the 49ers. Mick Lombardi, the former offensive coordinator for the 49ers, he has a title with the 49ers now that is Senior Offensive Assistant. That's the update here today from Levi Stadium. Tomorrow, the 49ers assistant coaches will speak, so we'll have our first chance to get Brandon Staley on record, and then OTA Session 2, open to the media, will be next week. But it was a good start for San Francisco. That's your update. We'll talk to you very soon.